Hey everybody, I just wanted to take a little bit of time to make some comments on the work that you've done so far. We're cruising along in this semester pretty fast, pretty well. We're heading into week 4, and so I wanted to take some time to kind of comment back and review and refresh some ideas from the first couple of weeks. I won't talk a whole lot about week 3 because I haven't had a chance to grade the week 3 discussions yet, but I'll do that pretty soon. But I wanted to talk about a few things and remind you of some things that are important to this class. First of all, I'm here. I'm a real human being. I'm out here and I'm commenting on your work. Make sure that you are checking the discussion board frequently, and that you're checking the comments that I make on your assignments in Blackboard frequently. If you haven't checked those yet, and if you haven't seen any direct feedback from me, it's definitely there. I've responded to everyone on multiple discussion boards and a couple of assignments, so it's important to take a look at those things. If you're not finding those things, please contact me as soon as possible, because I want to make sure that you're getting timely feedback that's going to be useful to you as we're heading into some larger assignments like the Code of Ethics Analysis essay and the eventual civic engagement project. So let's just take a little step back and kind of go back to the week 1 discussion for a second. I wanted to make some comments. There's a lot of really smart stuff happening on the discussions, and I'd like to see that continue throughout the semester, and think about the idea of how do we keep this energy of the beginning of the semester going through the full semester. Sometimes people's energy kind of tends to wane a little bit, so I'm open to taking some ideas about how I might be able to improve the energy of the class and the interaction. But so far, I'm really pleased. People are saying some really good stuff and doing some good work on the discussions, and I'll talk specifically about some of those in a second. This video is going to be relatively long, probably 10 or 15 minutes, because I'm going to be looking back over multiple weeks. I'll try to keep it as short as possible, but there's a lot of important things that we need to talk about. So first of all, I've got some notes down here, so I'll be kind of going back and forth like this. First of all, with the week 1 discussion and the week 1 stuff related to the cycle of socialization, keep in mind that it's always important to go back to that idea of the cycle of socialization throughout this class. The way that the world that you were born into in the beginning, the way that your family influenced you in your first socialization, the way that schools and churches and things like that influenced you in your institutional and cultural socialization, the enforcements that were brought against you that kept you in line depending on what your social identity was. All of those things are important things to think about as you're moving into this idea of the Code of Ethics Analysis essay, because all of those things that influenced you contributed to why you believe what you believe. And that's the basic essence of the Code of Ethics Analysis essay that you're going to be working on. Looking at what you believe, what those principles are, and then trying to figure out why those principles are the principles that you believe in and where they came from. A lot of people do it during this assignment, find that they have contradictory beliefs, and how do you reconcile those? Some people find that this assignment is very helpful in trying to make sense of a past experience where maybe you made a good ethical decision and it affected your life, or a bad ethical decision and it affected your life. But there's also the possibility of looking at a decision that you might make, something that's really troubling you right now. Some people in my classes have had some real success with analyzing a very specific decision that they have to make in the near future that's hard to make, and using all these ethical tools. So it's really important to go back to the ethical tools, right? We've got the framework for ethical decision making. We've got the right versus right article. We've got the what is right video. We've got a lot of different ideas within those, and I'll get to some of those in just a moment. But back to week 1. Keep in mind this idea of kind of the everyday and banal forms of oppression. Sometimes when people think of oppression, they think of it as something, like really violent and really noticeable, like somebody killing someone. But the real root of oppression is that it's almost unnoticed by certain people in the community, particularly people who have privilege. And privilege sometimes seems normal to a lot of people. They don't notice things that are going on until somebody points them out. And when things are pointed out, the people who have privilege start to feel guilty. And I think that idea of guilt is something to look at for a little while, but then, say, okay, I might feel guilty about this, but now I need to figure out what to do about it. Here's a good example. Lots of people use the P word, right? I'll just say it. They use the word pussy to describe somebody who's weak. And that in and of itself is somewhat of an insult. But at the same time, we have to question, why is it an insult? Why is it an insult to call someone the name of a female body part, right? And there's something sexist in that there's a suggestion that women are weak in some way. And so start trying to notice those subtle forms. Maybe that one's even a little overt, but there's lots of subtle forms of oppression related to all of the different categories that you can find on all the different social identities that you can find on page 12 of this book, right? We've got gender, race, class, nation, ethnicity, sexual orientation, religion, physical ability, age, language. All of those categories suggest something about a power structure. And that power structure is what privilege is. Some people get offended when somebody calls them privilege. Like, in particular, white males get offended probably most easily, and I'm one of them, right? By being called privileged. And it's this idea of domination and subordination. It's not about being better or worse. If you are in a dominant category, it doesn't mean you're better than someone. If you're in a subordinate category, it doesn't mean that you're worse. It just means that the way society has been structured gives power to some people and takes power away from other people. And so what we want to start looking at is how is power taken away from women? How is power taken away from gay people? How is power taken away from people, at least in this country, who are not Christian? And all the other examples. So start thinking about that. The social